Hello there. Producer Randall here. I just want to thank you for listening to the podcast and to say this episode is dedicated to Dana's father, Eric Gross.
Prejudice. Wrote a song about it? Like to hear it? Here it go.
Free your mind.
I can't drink multiple tiki drinks on a Thursday night anymore because I'm old and I can't handle the alcohol and the sugar.
Tiki drinks are a dangerous trap.
Yeah,
because they are so delicious.
That's why I stuck to the frozen lemonade, because at least that way I was getting water.
Yeah,
it
was disaster.
It's hard to slam frozen drinks because you get the brain freeze.
Yeah.
It's like an automatic deterrent, you know?
Yeah. Except we did do it that one time. A nice punch. Damn, that goes down easy. There was that one time that we kept brain freezing ourselves.
We got the scorpion bowl.
Oh, God.
We did get the scorpion bowl.
We're now
talk about like not giving a shit anymore. Here, let's share this bowl of liquid.
I went to Korean barbecue 2 weeks ago with all of my a bunch of my coworkers, and it was all of us just like sharing food everywhere, breathing all over each other.
We didn't learn a goddamn thing. It's great.
I hugged people that I've never
did karaoke.
I never met them in person before, but I'm hugging them.
I'm hugging everybody.
So much hugging. Yeah.
Well, speaking of not learning any lessons, welcome to You're No Fun Anymore, the podcast where we deal with our nostalgia. I am Randall.
I'm Dana.
I'm Bryce.
I'm Alexandra.
And the Stoylesses have forgotten their names.
She just reached over to turn off the fan.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm Randall.
I'm Dana, but I think we should keep it the way it was.
Yeah.
And I'm Helen. You forgot Bryce. Bryce
did it right the first time.
I'm Alexandra.
And today we are talking about My Cousin Vinny, or 12 Angry Maroons.
Oh.
I was also going to accept Anatomy of a Moida.
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 It sounded like you were saying. Yeah, that
like,
sounded Yiddish.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, is somebody having a bris?
Well, how about cannoli on a hot tin roof? That's
I like that one.
On a hot tin roof. That's
I
good.
like that one. Yep.
That one's
or
good.
hey, I'm litigating over here.
Best. That was the right one.
There you go.
A funny thing happened to William and Stanley on their way to college.
At what point did you shoot the clerk?
They got framed for murder.
Whoa! Wait a minute!
Now, two kids from New York are in deep trouble.
It's time to make your phone calls.
The clan's here. They're inbred. They sleep with their sisters.
In the deep South.
Some of them do.
And only one man can save them. He's
My Cousin Vinny.
You stick out like a sore thumb around here.
Oh, yeah, you blend.
You graduated from law school 6 years ago. What have you been doing since?
Studying for the bar.
That's a lot of studying.
What's this over here?
You never heard of grits?
Sure. I just actually never seen a grit before.
It's his first case.
Now, didn't I tell you dress appropriately?
You were serious about that?
The way you handled that judge, you're a smooth talker, you are.
It's their last chance.
The two Utes.
Did you say Utes?
Yeah, two Utes.
What is a Ute?
But with Vinny's style and Vinny's girlfriend.
We agreed to get married as soon as you won your first case. My biological clock is ticking like this, and the way this case is going, I ain't never getting married.
They're dead meat.
May I have permission to treat Ms. Vito as a hostile witness?
You think I'm hostile? Now wait till you see me tonight.
Joe Pesci is My Cousin Vinny.
You two know each other?
Yeah, she's my fiancée.
Well, that would certainly explain the hostility.
Content warning. This selected film may contain scenes depicting the following: depictions of gun violence, language, physical assault, ableist and homophobic humor, implied death via electrocution, gambling, excessive accents, disturbing consumption of fried chicken, and photographs of a partially nude Joe Pesci. And now, back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
I had not seen this in a while. I was actually really kind of surprised. I remember this being a lot shorter than it was, but it's still good. Like I
It's
still had a
definitely
good time
got
with
3
it.
acts.
Yep.
Yeah.
It holds up. Holds
Yeah.
up.
Definitely.
I
love this movie. We kept watching it and we're just like, this such a, I was like, it's a little problematic with the
dumbing down of hick life,
the hick life at the start where you're just like, this is totally coastal elite saying what this is the South is like.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because as I was watching, I was like, yep, they're going to have a problem with the fact that the Southern people were portrayed badly, and probably the stuttering. They're probably going to have a problem with the stuttering.
Oh, stuttering, I just felt bad. I just felt bad.
I really wanted that guy.
It's not that I have a problem, but I can completely understand why people from the South get upset at us.
Totally.
Because this is
we're
what they
assholes.
feel.
But wait a second. No. Because I think in this movie,
there's like dirt for sale.
There's
dirt for sale.
Hey, that's
in
legit.
this movie,
and horse manure for free.
Opposite. It is the exact opposite. Everyone in the South is completely discriminating against Vinny.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree. I think that the characters are completely
Really?
discriminating
Because Vinny-
against the coastal elite, but the movie itself is being a little derogatory towards the.
And Vinny makes fun of people to his face in that super passive aggressive New York way that is so
which
good.
we love. We have
Oh my
grown
God,
to
I
love.
loved it so much when he's telling off that guy who wouldn't pay Mona Lisa.
And believe me, I could use an ass
Mona
kicking.
Lisa.
Mona Lisa Vito.
Oh,
when
no, I was thinking like when he's in the restaurant and they're like having the grits.
Yeah.
And it's
Can I just say
more
that's
subtle mockery.
my favorite part of that is the menu. The long delay. And they go, I don't know, what are you gonna go with? And then you don't see the reveal until after that. It's such a good little gag.
So well written. It's so well written. It's so.
I remember watching this recently because I went through a phase when I was very lonely in London, and I would watch movies because I wanted to create a personal list of flawless movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And this was one of them. And I remember buying a bottle of port and watching this movie and having one of the greatest nights of my life.
And My Cousin Vinny do not do it together.
It's so weird.
Well, come on.
You could have made it a Chianti.
Well, the funny part is like
Chianti.
I know it's Chianti. I'm just
we'll
doing that
get
whole
into
prestige.
we'll get into the stuff later, but I will say that being in London and talking about this movie will go into the sequel. But let's set up the year first. The year is 1992. Excuse me. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Oh God, every time. The USDA releases its first food pyramid guide, one of the many new approaches in an attempt to stave off Americans from their own worst impulses. It's roughly based on the Swedish version, released in 1974, but this version separates it into 6 sections, which is fruits, vegetables, grains, dairy, meat and beans, olives, and sweets, oils and sweets.
I was going to say, are olives get its own line in the pyramid? Did I make this pyramid?
Along with proportions and nutritional information. Based on our overall health and declining life expectancy, I'd say it's going great.
Yeah.
After 202 years, 7 months, and 10 days, the 27th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States is ratified, having been submitted by the First Continental Congress in September of 1789. This submission was largely forgotten until the 80s, until a UT Austin student, having written a paper about how ratification of older amendments is still viable, got a C mark from his professor and got so upset by this, actually started a national push to get states to ratify it and pass it. And sure enough, almost a decade later, they proved successful, having over 38 states ratify or prove ratification, thus submitting this into the United States Constitution as a fully ratified amendment. The now retired professor actually helped the former students submit a grade change form decades later, marking the C to an A. I would like also say that this strategy of re-ratification through the states can be done with the ERA, so let's fucking get it done.
ERA story, yeah.
Real.
A noted racist enclave, Simi Valley, California, the Rodney King trial comes to an incendiary end when the jury, comprised of nearly all white people, acquit all 4 officers of assault and use of excessive force, immediately sparking conflicts in the court parking lot, and eventually catches fully in what is known as the LA riots,
Yep.
becoming the failure capstone of the disgustingly racist and authoritarian tenure of Daryl F. Gates, the head of the LAPD. There is a great series of documentaries about this. I highly recommend watching them. This guy also, if you really want to know how fucked up Daryl Gates is, he sat in front of a council rightfully getting dragged for his department's racist conduct, and he directly threatened the entire basically saying, hey, if you don't treat us right, we're not going to treat you right. And when he got called out on it, he tried to like gaslight the entire audience, like live.
While it was happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's an absolute piece of shit.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, no, he's part of the reason why you have SWAT teams and a massive military buildup is this guy. The long-running variety show Hee Haw begins shooting its last season of syndicated episodes after 23 seasons spanning over 4 decades. This season would actually see an update to the hayseed hokum hijinks of the cornfield and the barn. They changed it to city bus stops and shopping malls in an effort to appeal to a more modern pop country audience.
I watched Hee Haw.
Yeah, the first episode of this season, season 23, actually has Garth Brooks, and he actually does sketches and performs with it. It's very strange. I had not realized that show had been on for so long.
And Garth Brooks was a great sketch actor. Anyone has gone back to his SNLs, he was actually really good.
Yeah, he's actually funny. The jokes, not so much, but I think that was always the case with those sketches. And Barry Scheck and Peter Newfield, after a study by the United States Department of Justice and the U.S. Senate, found that incorrect eyewitness identification was a factor in almost 3/4 of wrongful convictions, found the Innocence Project this year out of Cardozo School of Law here in New York City. The organization focused on using DNA evidence to help exonerate wrongfully convicted people. And as of this year, 2021, the organization has helped clear the records of and free 375 innocent people and actually find and solve the crimes that they were committed of several others because of untested DNA. And so I think that's a perfect segue into why eyewitnesses are a bad source.
Yep.
Of
Yeah.
information.
Especially when it's like a crowd of eyewitnesses, because it's just, I mean, there's been all those like psychological studies, like, with the gorilla in the basketball court, where they like walks by and nobody noticed
And
the
nobody
gorilla
notices.
because they're all watching the game,
Yeah. So this film, My Cousin Vinny, was released on March 13th, 1992, a very crowded Friday the 13th weekend. It takes the number 2 spot. It was nipping at the heels, though, of the unstoppable comedy juggernaut that is Wayne's World, which would be in its 5th straight week of number 1.
We have to watch
That
Wayne's
was a good
Party
movie.
time, excellent.
That's insane. I can't even think of a movie that's done that in recent years. So it takes in 7.4 million to Wayne's World's 8.4. Other notable releases this day includes Article 99, the VA doctor dramedy, American Me, that was Edward James Olmos's directorial debut. He also starred in it. It's kind of like a crime thriller. Howard's End, the Oscar darling and fellow actress and supporting actress nominees and winners. We'll get to that. Shakes the Clown, the underrated gem. As per Uncle Marty, he called it the Citizen Kane of drunk clown films. Thanks, Marty Scorsese. And the directorial debut of Bobcat Goldthwait as well. And the impeccable Raise the Red Lantern gets its U.S. distribution. It came out the previous year, but this is when it finally got released in the United States. It's one of my favorite films. And another one of my personal favorites, Highway to Hell, starring Rob Lowe's little brother, Chad Lowe.
The underappreciated Lowe.
Yeah, Christy Swanson and the deliciously villainous Patrick Bergen, who you might know as the husband from Sleeping with the Enemy. But yeah, so it would go on. It had a solid run. It takes in almost 53 million domestically over spring through the summer, and it is apparently like 80% of the bar loves this movie. Like lawyers,
It's taught in schools.
Yeah,
as like courtroom procedure.
Wait,
Yeah.
can I share my first?
Please.
Oh yeah.
I saw My Cousin Vinny. I'm pretty sure I saw it either in the theater or it must have been like right when it came out on VHS, one of the two. But it happened to be right around the same time that my 8th grade class was learning how to do mock trials.
Oh,
And I was the loudmouth, which is weird now because I'm an introvert and nobody thinks I speak loud enough. But I was a loudmouth at the time who got to be one of the lawyers in the mock trial. I did all of my learning and studying from My Cousin Vinny. I had somebody up on the stand during the mock trial and grilled him as an eyewitness because I knew that Joe Pesci would do it that way. And afterwards, one of my teachers came up to me and said, "You were really good at that. Have you seen this movie, My Cousin Vinny?" And I was like, "Yes, I have." And that was my whole point in being a lawyer. And it made me want to be a lawyer for several years until I decided I wanted to be an actor instead, which was not the best switch.
Should have stuck with the lawyer thing, and then you could have,
Exactly.
I mean, Jeffrey Lynn, who's the director of this film, he graduated law from Cambridge University. He refers to himself very often. It's actually listed on his bio on his website as a recovering lawyer. So maybe you missed out, and maybe you didn't. I have to say, like, I'm trying to remember the first time I saw this. I don't think it was in the theater. I think it was probably video.
Yeah, I think it might have been TBS for me because I don't remember all the swearing when I was a kid, so I assume it was edited out.
No, I definitely remember the swearing, but I
remember the swearing 100%.
I think it must have been video. I mean, even Roger Ebert's review of this, I think his quote was, "This is the kind of movie that was made for home video. Like, it's that one of those things where it's enjoyable, but
You don't need to see it in the theater. Definitely not.
Right. Which is weird because he would come to the defense of and he would demand Rex Reed apologize for starting that awful rumor about Marisa Tomei and the Oscars.
Oh my God. Yes. And I brought that up when we were watching it. And
terrible.
I was like, that is so demeaning. Like, it's so diminishing of her.
Okay, I think we might want to go back and refresh our memory on what that was.
Okay, so let's just get into it now. So after she won, it was a very surprise. I mean, it depends.
It was a surprise win,
it was a surprise at the time,
because it was supporting actress, right?
Right, and it was also this was the only nomination this film got.
Yeah,
was supporting actress. It was the 65th Academy Awards. In retrospect, when you're looking at the other nominees, so a lot of people were going for Howard's End because it won for Best Actress. Judi Davis was up for Husbands and Wives. Joan Plowright was up for Enchanted April. Vanessa Redgrave was up for Howard's End. Everybody really thought it. I think she's in it for like 5 minutes. Miranda Richardson's in Damaged. So these are all very heavy, depressing, like abusive roles. All of these things are like women getting fucked over, but they have like these little moments of, we figured out a way to survive this. And I honestly believe that the energy that Marisa Tomei comes out with this, Marisa Tomei has that kind of, it's 1992. So, it's still not quite the best roles for women, but this is a really great role for her.
I think it's an incredible role. She holds her own.
Yeah.
She is a whirlwind. She's a force. She doesn't like back down.
She's supportive, but also strong.
She's like tough love, like she doesn't allow any bullshit to go past her.
And above all, it's fun.
It's
Everyone,
so fun.
like,
she's so funny.
I don't know if you've ever watched Damaged. That film is a trial, like, to get through. Howard's End is also kind of shitty, and also implied that Anthony Hopkins' character is kind of a rapey asshole. Yeah. And there's a lot of just like gross abuse and rape, and then like there's this fun movie where you get a powerful woman doing.
She looks fucking awesome in every scene.
I want
her cat suits. I want her cat suits. I want her leather pants. I want all of her outfits.
Sweater dress with the like metal
the deep V back.
shoulders.
Oh God, it's good.
I never wanted to wear a cat suit until
I saw her in.
I want the
flower one.
big hair, the big
When
old
you
hair.
have
Oh my God.
The thing is, though, about that Oscars. So number one, I remember Jack Palance presenting that award.
Yeah.
And the reason everybody thought it was a mistake was because he was so whacked out when he gave that award. They were like, no, he probably just read the card wrong. It probably was Vanessa Redgrave. But I also remember my dad saying to me, and he's not wrong, this has always been the case, Best Supporting Actor always goes to the youngest, and Best Supporting Actor always goes to the oldest nominee. Almost always. So when she won, my dad was sitting there going, yeah, that makes sense. And the rest of the world was like, no.
She fucking earned it. She earned
it's a stepping stone. It's totally a stepping stone. And it really sucks that it took like until the 2017 Oscars where they literally fucked it up. And then PricewaterhouseCoopers had to come out and be like, no, it's Moonlight, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
That she just had this around her neck. And she's gotten nominations after this.
Yeah.
I think she's got nominated twice afterwards.
Wrestler, right?
Wrestler. Yeah.
The Wrestler, and there was one more, I think. So it's like, it's totally unfair. And Roger Ebert, had said at the time.
Demeaning.
It's
demeaning,
but
like also,
and he demanded that Rex Reed apologize, and of course Rex
Retraction.
Reed, known fucking shoplifter. Nobody remembers that. He tried to shoplift like a bunch of like old timey like Mel Torme CDs.
Oh my
he got caught at a Tower Records.
Wasn't it right around the same time as Winona Ryder's whole shoplifting?
Yeah.
Which of course they focus on her shoplifting, but not him.
They reported his too. It's easier to remember Winona Ryder because she's way more famous than he is.
Yeah, and also nobody gives a shit about Rex Reed, honestly. Yeah, so he sat there and he's like, not only is the rumor untrue, it's unfair to Marisa Tomei, and Rex Reed owes her an apology. Like he laid it out. PricewaterhouseCoopers had to write like a whole page ad, put it in Variety. It's just like it's so shitty.
Bullshit. It's bullshit.
Everything that guy just says bullshit. Thank you.
But it's also, I mean, if you go back and look at the records of the Oscars, they don't like comedies. It's so
it's true.
put a comedy in front of them that they think is worthy of awards. Like other than Annie Hall, they just don't think that they're worth it.
Good in this, and
so
I think
good.
that's what it is.
It's not embodying like the ideal of a supporting character.
You can't have the movie without her. There is no movie
without her.
She
and the chemistry, the way they play off each other is like perfect. It's a little creepy. I mean, yes,
not even a creepy part. I don't buy that they're sleeping together.
I don't buy that they're sleeping together.
Here's the thing,
Dana, I agree. There is I'm not
no chemistry.
When I say chemistry, I don't mean sexual chemistry.
I mean, like they could be an old married couple.
Totally,
100%.
I think.
But I think they haven't slept together in probably
I totally agree with you, Helen. But that might be a lot to do because Joe Pesci had like basically half of his face pulled back under his hairline.
No.
Oh, that really bad wig.
Oh, and the wig, but you could see like the pullback tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was let's see, he was 49.
Yeah.
She was 27.
I mean, they wanted Joe Pesci because he's hilarious, but like
nobody else could play Vinny.
Not really though.
I mean
we'll get into this casting thing in a little bit, but I wanted to go back to like just the setup of this. It's like, okay, this was supposed to be you have a lot of people that wanted to do this, and actually like Dale Launer, who's the producer and screenwriter, actually drove through the South because he didn't want it to be a portrayal where everybody thought, oh, we're making fun of the Hicks. And I don't think there's a lot of punching down.
The thing is, I don't think they do.
I think mostly at the beginning.
Just that very beginning,
like that very introductory part.
And I don't think it's
where it's literally dirt for sale and horse manure for $5.
Yeah, and I don't think it's super
real.
offensive.
Those are all real.
That's the thing.
That horse manure was free, Helen.
I know. That's Helen.
But that you look at Fred Gwynne as the judge. You look at the lawyers. You look at everybody. They are not dumb people.
I didn't think the characters. I don't think it was like the setup.
It was the setup,
and it was his friend talking about how medieval law, like that whole kind of. It was just the setup.
It was just that, like
but
the
then
first
once
5
you
minutes,
actually see the actual people of the
which
South,
could have also been what they were intending. They wanted, they wanted to see what
exactly. You have to look at that first scene in context with the rest of the movie. They're supposed to be assholes who are judging everyone in that first scene.
Yeah, that scene when Stan is sitting there, it's like they all fuck each other, and you watch them all staring at him, and he's like,
right. That's the whole point. Is that Ralph Macchio and Mitchell Whitfield, right? Yes.
Yeah, Whitfield.
The two of them are supposed to be assholes wandering through the South.
NYU assholes.
Not supposed to be better
Macchio
than
has
people.
that horrible mustache.
Oh.
The first time I noticed it was awful.
It wasn't a mustache. It was a sprinkling of coffee
dust. It was a pre-puberty mustache is what it was.
It was like a bad rumor. Like it was just
I honestly didn't notice it until Bryce pointed it out.
Well, so it's the first time I've ever noticed it, but I definitely noticed it this time.
One of the most New York things that I remember that I just noticed for the first time, having lived in New York for a long at this point, is when he's in the convenience. I wanted to say bodega. It's the South, not a bodega. At the convenience store. And he like looks down at his half-filled drink and he's like, can you fill this up? And it's just like such a New York moment.
Entitled. Yeah.
Obviously you're going to call.
But also you are paying for something. You should get the full
I've
drink.
definitely done that with coffee. I'm like, come
Everywhere
on,
else
dude.
you would just kind of like suck it up and bitch about it later. But like, we're going to be like, no, this is bullshit.
And it's not like he was
we want what we paid for.
Yeah, he wasn't being like, that's just a normal like exchange. And then you don't think about it. But doing that somewhere else, that's like, wow, I'm an asshole. And I'm like,
it's not rude to us, but they want their like 25 minutes of small talk, which for someone like me, that's why I moved to New York. I can't do the small talk.
No.
If I have to live here in order to avoid it, I will do that.
Yeah, but you know what? Once the barista learns your order by heart, you change your coffee shop.
You're just 100%. I'm on to the next one.
No, I'm happy when the barista knows my order because
that's because you're an extrovert.
No, because I don't have to keep going back. I don't have to keep telling them what I need.
You know
I'm just
how
like,
horrifying it is to me. The day that I walk into a Starbucks and someone says, "Hi, Dana," I'm like, "Oh, now I have to talk to you." No,
that was never part of the agreement.
It's a delight.
We used to chat with this one barista at this Gregory's by our office. She always remembered my, dirty chai. And sometimes she'd be like, "How are you feeling today?" I was like, "A little tired." She's like, "Do you want me to make the dirty chai filthy?" And I was like, "Yes, please."
And I'd be like, "Okay, no, I'm just going to leave now. I'll talk to you never."
No, I don't need anything. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
I'm all good, man. I'm all friended up. I don't need
exactly.
else.
But it's good to have.
All right, we're way
let me say one more thing about it, Randall.
All right, go for it.
I, as an extrovert, I like pocket friends.
Yes.
Where I'm like, I will be friends for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and I don't need you in my life after that. But I really love my dose of pocket friends.
Yep. And it's nice. It's nice. It's
That's
nice
not a friend.
Also, like,
that's a person you have to make small talk with.
Yeah.
That's not a friend.
Oh, I love small talk, Dana. I love it.
You know what, Bryce? We're on the same team.
If I don't want to talk to you for 2 hours, I don't want to talk to you for 20 minutes.
No, I love having mindless conversation with people. I love it.
Blah.
I will say,
mindless conversation.
You were like viscerally like cringing, like full body cringing.
Either tell me your entire life story so I really understand you, or go away.
Dana, I will say, be careful because of the pandemic. A lot of people have been really itching to talk.
Oh my God.
This morning I was walking by and I saw this woman planting flowers, and I was like, "Oh, they're very nice." And as I continue walking while I'm listening to my podcast, she is having a full-on conversation with me.
But you started that.
My flowers died. And they die every year. And I wanted to go back and be like, "That's because you're not buying perennials."
You started that by saying her flowers were nice. For me, I would look at the flowers, acknowledge in my brain that they were nice, and continue on without the word.
People like to know things are nice. It's nice to be
people like compliments, Dana.
Yeah, I like giving compliments.
Call me rude, but in reality, I don't like small talk.
Yeah, that's fair.
My boss, who passed away at the beginning of last year, he used to always give people compliments. Like in the elevator, he would tell people,
if I like somebody's pants, I'm like, "Nice pants."
He would be like, "Oh, that's such a nice pashmina." He was just like, that it might not be something to me, but it's something to them. And it's like nice for them to know that their thoughtful outfits or their thoughtful pieces that they do are recognized.
Yeah. The best part about being in my late 30s, is I can compliment people and they neither think that I'm creepy or will turn around and hit on me. I am like at the perfect age to say random compliments to strangers, and it is a delight.
This is why I usually go for the older ladies to compliment, because then they're just very chatty and they're like, "Oh, thanks."
You haven't hit the age yet, but you'll like it when you get there.
I'm like not that far away.
Let's talk about the movie some more.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're way off course. I can't even know how to steer this back, so I'm just gonna go.
Well, I mean, it has to do with the down south kindness.
Yes.
That's kind of what they were doing.
There is a weird like communication thing that I do like.
Yeah, totally.
So I was originally saying Dale Lautner actually drove across the South. Dale Lautner had his first breakout with Ruthless People. His other scripts include Blind Date, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Love Potion No. 9, etc., etc. So he had a really good string of hits, and then he kind of he didn't really do much after that. But a lot of this is based on his experiences through there. And one of the things that he wanted to do when he was talking to people is to portray the South in not a negative light. Because he would talk to people and they'd ask him, "Oh yeah, he was really friendly and they're having a good time." And he was like, "Well, I'm writing a movie about, a couple kids down in the South." And he noticed like an immediate shift. They would immediately go like, "Nobody gets the South right. They all think we're, X, Y, and Z." Yeah. And he specifically wanted to turn that on its head. And I think that's why he went with the spoiled NYU kids, but also just like I can't even say anything else but like New York Italian stereotype. And Pesci at that time, I mean, he's from Jersey. He's not like, I don't think he's ever really been a New York guy other than just like being associated with like Marty Scorsese. And
I should add, my New York half Italian boyfriend adores this movie.
Oh yeah.
So the stereotype is not necessarily offensive.
No, and
I didn't think it was.
I don't think it was that offensive.
I mean, he's like a fast talker, but it's not like he's
also that's just who he is.
Yeah. He's smart. Like you can tell that he's like whip smart.
Well, that's the other fun thing about this. So we were talking about how like this movie wouldn't have survived without Mona Lisa Vito. And one of the original passes of this, they wanted to cut her out. They wanted to cut the character out completely.
Wrong.
Yeah.
I can understand why. She's removable. Like not that Marisa Tomei is removable, but the character is.
The character itself. So when they were going through that and then they were just like, oh, I don't know. Because there were a lot of problems. They wanted to add like things with the mother because of like what kind of mother doesn't show up when her son, her son's in jail and all that. But they realized that nobody gave a shit. When you're actually doing it and you're putting it together, it's like, oh yeah, that's just kind of a thing. You just say she's got health problems and then, you're done. So yeah, they originally wanted to remove that. And the other thing that they ended up removing, which is unfortunate, is he originally wrote the character to be dyslexic. That's why Vinny has such trouble with reading, and he took him 6 times to pass the bar.
Yeah, but that's just mean.
Well,
if that's what they're making fun of when he says he can't pass the bar.
Right. But the thing is like they couldn't figure out a good way to cinematically make that translate.
It makes total sense because otherwise you kind of feel like he's a slacker.
Right.
Like he's not
but
a
he's
slacker.
not.
Like he's like trying to get the end result without putting in the work. You know?
And it's never about the work because he obviously put the work in.
Yeah.
It's just that he has such difficulty, and I love all those shots where he's like sitting there and he's trying to get through the book, and she plows through half of it in like a night.
Pages, and she's figured it out right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Even just like a little bit of an explainer. As soon as I read that there was an interview piece where he's talking about that, where it's like, oh, that makes so much more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, that's why he has difficulty with all these things, and he's a very much like I learn as I go guy.
Yeah.
Which is what he says. He's like, look, yeah, I screwed up. You just kind of pick yourself up and you learn not to do that again.
Well, and this is another one of those things, like for some reason, my dad and I must have discussed this movie quite a lot because I remember all of these things my dad said about this movie. But another one of the points he used to bring up was, who cares if it took him 6 times to pass the bar? Because he passed the bar.
Yeah,
he did it.
I mean, the New York City bar is actually very difficult to pass in comparison to a lot of other states. Like California, New York, the bar in New York and California are both very
ridiculous.
Right.
This film has been a favorite of people in the legal profession. It's actually been cited in courts ranging from local municipalities literally up to this goddamn Supreme Court. Yep. Like it's everywhere and people love it because it does adhere. While it takes certain liberties here and there, it actually takes procedure and process very seriously. And I think
from
that's
like
because
arraignment to like sentencing.
Yeah.
And except for I took issue with the time frame because I'm pretty sure a murder trial would have taken a couple of years to get to where they got to.
Well, maybe months.
They get the
months,
steps there.
maybe not years.
Yeah, they get there in like a week.
But the whole like judge scene where he's like, "This is how you're going to dress in my courtroom," is very accurate because especially if you're the lawyer, you do not dress in anything but.
Also, you never piss
don't piss off the judge.
Don't piss off the judge.
Because you got to realize this is their house.
That's their house.
And he was that Fred Munster was a great.
She just keeps calling him Fred Munster.
Fred Gwynn.
Yeah, Fred Gwynn actually walked off a set because the director kept calling him Herman Munster, and he was like, I feel bad for the guy because he's one of the most emotive character actors I've ever seen.
He is a great actor.
And this, unfortunately, was his last film role because he passed away a couple of years after this. Yeah.
Back to the Southern Trial for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I've recently rewatched The People versus O.J. Simpson, which, by the way, is still a really good show. But there's a whole episode where Robert Shapiro and F. Lee Bailey go to the South to argue some case. And F. Lee Bailey keeps trying to tell Robert Shapiro, you cannot be a New Yorker in a Southern courtroom. And Shapiro goes in and does a My Cousin Vinny and, tries to argue it like a New Yorker, and he gets kicked out of the courtroom. And F. Lee Bailey has to come in and do the Southern approach to it. So I think it was actually, that piece of it was actually probably incredibly accurate as well.
Who's the guy who played the district attorney?
Trotter the Third.
the way he kept kind of like signaling to the jury, like this and this.
But that's actually like how you do it. And one of my favorite bits in that, and this is a little editing fun, is that shot when he goes, when they're talking about they're coming over from England. It's a word that means this, all our old little ancestors, and it immediately cuts to the 3 black jurors. I was like, Nice job editing.
Which I have to say, I appreciated that like the demographics of this were more like accurate
That would
to
be
like
the
the
South,
South,
yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Alabama, you know, has
especially in rural Alabama. That would
yeah, like there's a scene in the cafe. They go to like a cafe to have like lunch or something, and when he's like looking through the pictures, and everybody else in the cafe is black.
be, again, I think you don't get that unless like Dale Earner really put in the work to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like he wanted this to be something special. Quick side, so the editor is Stephen Rivkin, who is now mostly known for his work on most of the pirate franchise, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and the Avatar and its never-ending sequels. He has a very eclectic filmography. He got a start in boner ski comedy, Hot Dog the Movie, but he's done everything from Outbreak, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Ali, Idle Hands, which I know is Bryce's favorite.
Oh wow.
I legitimately love that movie. Don't give me that face, Dana.
No, I'm not kidding. I saw that movie in the theaters for Seth Green.
I think we're gonna have to put that on the list.
It should
No.
be on our list. It's so good.
Is that Devin Sawa?
Yes, that is Devin
And
Sawa.
it's really,
God.
really, really young Jessica Alba.
Yep.
Oh, that's
wow.
right. That's right. You were saying about chicken.
Chicken and Pool. That wants to be
Oh.
Chicken and Pool. It was so real. Like it was
Yeah.
such a legitimately real location.
Man who deep throated a chicken leg.
Who put the entire chicken leg in
Yeah.
his mouth and pulled out a fucking bone?
Yeah,
I
that was
have
pretty-
actually seen
Just think
people
about how
do
many
that with
times he
chicken
had to
legs.
do
Happy
that.
Pride, everyone. That man deep throated a chicken leg.
But he probably deep throated like 10 chicken legs because you know they had to
Forget
get
that
coverage
shot.
on it.
That's exactly
God,
what I
it
said
was
as we were watching. I'm
amazing.
like, how many takes did that take?
It could have been that magical one.
Oh man.
No, that man
was-
looked like he was in it for the long haul when it came to eating.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
He
so
was like,
they-
okay, I'm ready.
They shot on location in Georgia, and several of these places are still open. They do
Really?
have the Sack of Suds is a legitimate convenience store that is still
That's
open. So the
crazy.
original Sack of Suds sign from the movie is owned by Joseph F. Anderson Jr., who is a federal judge,
Amazing.
and it's signed by Jonathan Lynn, who's the director, or Jeffrey Lynn. Sorry, Jeffrey Lynn. He's a British stage actor turned film director. Like I said, he's a law graduate. He calls himself a recovering lawyer. Most notably, he wrote and directed Clue.
Yeah.
And that's like his big claim to fame, and he loves it.
We've not done Clue yet.
I don't know.
I don't know. Because again, it's another movie that's so perfect and flawless.
I was about to say, if
Yeah, what
anybody
are you
says
gonna say?
anything bad about Clue, we're done. Podcast.
We
mean,
have to
there-
have there's always going to be the show movie that we all agree on, and that is totally fine.
Yeah.
We can't have everything be conflicted.
Yeah. He's actually, he did Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy this same year.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He also did the reimagining of Sergeant Bilko with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
The underrated gem Greedy, if you've ever seen this, it's great.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. The last few, I think in the 2000s and the 2010s, he did the Whole Nine Yards, Fighting Temptations, and,
Oh my
and
yards.
something
Wow.
else.
Good one.
Yeah. So
Dennis
yeah,
Quaid, pretty good director.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he definitely has a great sense for
Comedy.
for comedy. The weird thing about this though, there's parts of this that are definitely like very slow paced.
Mm, mm. The
Where
first
you
two
kinda
acts. It takes until you get into the third act.
Yeah.
It's mostly like we're gonna follow these characters. I mean, the whole kind of like pool hustle side story is unnecessary, but I still love it.
Yes, the beeline is
Yeah,
a little.
but like, the whole kind of like setup. It
gets
takes
fun
longer
once-
than you expect.
It gets fun once Vinny gets his feet under him.
Yeah.
and they
Yep.
are in court and they are in trial. Not
My-
even like the fucking up about
Yeah.
arraignment and all of that kind of stuff.
My
Like,
favorite-
once the trial starts, it's on.
One of my favorite bits is when he is interviewing all the people in advance of the trial, and he's like, "So what's this over here?" And it's just like, for a New Yorker, he's being very like charming to these like
Yeah.
Southern people, and he's just like, "What is this over here? You don't say. How thick were your
Yeah,
glasses?"
I particularly love just that whole breakdown when he's doing that thing where he's like, so you're telling me through this crud and these screens, and he's basically just calling this guy's house is like, yeah, you live in filth. The nicest way I've ever seen somebody go, like, you live in a hovel.
I mean, honestly, though, that rusty screen. Come on.
Well,
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Joe Pesci calling the woman with the thick glasses
Dear.
dear over and over is
Dear.
the most unnatural thing I've ever heard coming out of Joe Pesci's mouth.
I know.
And of course, The youth scene. The youth.
Oh yeah, that came directly from an interaction that he had with the director. Jeffrey Lynn had difficulty understanding certain times, so that conversation they just put it in the movie. So he was like, "Wait, what? What did you just say?" Because he's British, you know, he's not picking up on a lot of the stuff, and he's laying on his accent pretty thick because Pesci doesn't normally have
that heavy, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like
he definitely plays it up, yeah.
Oh yeah, and so is Marisa Tomei. Like, if you listen to Marisa Tomei, she's born in I think she's born in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
and she just pouring it on in
so
this.
When I was 13, I used to walk around going, "Do you mean to tell me there was a baby Dia?"
Dia,
sweet innocent little baby Dia.
What about these pants I got on? You think they're okay?
Imagine you're a deer. You're prancing along, you get thirsty, you spot a little brook, you put your little deer lips down to the cool, clear water. Bam! A fucking bullet rips off part of your head. Your brains are laying on the ground in little bloody pieces. Now I ask you, would you give a fuck what kind of pants the son of a bitch who shot you was wearing?
That's how I got my New York accent down, was doing Marisa Tomei.
I think my favorite New York moment is when Fred Gwynne once again holds Joe Pesci in contempt of court, and under his breath, Joe Pesci's like, big surprise there.
I don't like your attitude.
What else is new?
I'm holding you in contempt of court.
Oh, there's a fucking surprise.
What'd you say?
What?
What'd you just say?
What'd I say? What?
The most like dumb face, like innocent, like what I didn't say. Oh, did I say something? I don't know.
Oh, I've definitely done that where I'm just like out loud muttering, and people are like, "What'd you say?" I'm like, I didn't say shit.
What?
Are
I did? Huh? No, I didn't say anything.
The funny part is Fred Gwynne actually is he was born in New York and graduated from Harvard, so it's also hilarious that his character is a Yale graduate. And I'm always wondering, like, were they just trying to fuck with him? I don't know. Apparently, Fred Gwynne and Joe Pesci were really good friends before this. So to see them like interact so adversarially, it's a special kind of treat when you realize like, oh, they're just having a great old time with it. Also, he's like over a foot taller than him.
Fred
Gwynne, I think, is like
Fred
5'5" or 6'5" or 6'6".
Yeah. He's huge.
Yeah, Joe Pesci's like 5'5".
Yeah.
Like he is just a towering
It's like
man.
me and everybody I know.
So imagine if you would have met Fred Gwynne at that
I have friends that are Fred Gwynne's size, and we can't be in the same picture at the same time.
Well, unless they lift you up, then
Yeah.
that works.
But that's messy.
You have to have portable Apple boxes for you wherever you
I think
go.
those are her platform shoes.
I was about to say, that's why I wear Frankenstein platforms,
There you go.
which fits with Herman Munster.
So fitting. You're right. Beautiful.
Don't come back around.
Energy.
Dun, 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 dun. I do love that show way too much. Okay, so there's a couple things that are questionable. And actually, one of these scenes originally was going to be removed, but they put it back in.
The jailhouse scene?
The jailhouse scene when he's mistakenly, and it's all like the weird.
He thinks he's what was the name he came up with?
Yeah, prison rape
Bruno?
is funny gag. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get why they put it back in, but yeah, it's a little.
It's not needed. I mean, they could have figured out a different way to introduce Joe Pesci to the two of them.
Also, like legally, you would not be doing that in
the jail cell.
in the
No,
jail
there's like a
cell.
room where you meet with your lawyer. Yeah,
But they do meet with the lawyer in that room later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Also, side note on this, Joe Pesci actually learned that card trick for this movie, the one where he's explaining how to break down the prosecution's case. And they wanted to do it in one shot because to pull that effect off, it doesn't work if you cut.
Yeah.
You have to do it there. And it's pretty impressive he manages to do it. I don't think it's like a 30-second take. It's really quick. And he managed to pull it off. So I was like, kudos to that guy, like learning sleight of hand. I also did not realize that he had a singing career before this.
Lisa, he released an album.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Vinny.
about this character, right?
Yeah, it
As
was Vinny, wasn't it?
In
Yeah.
1998. And oh boy.
It's like Sinatra themed, isn't it? Just kind of like
No.
Italian.
Some of that stuff is, and there's a song called Hey Vinny, and all this, and it's the big single off it was a rap called Wise Guy.
Oh no.
Let me
Oh,
just read
Joe,
you some
no,
of the lyrics.
no, Joe.
Oh yeah, it's the bitches that'll get yous.
It's the bitches that'll get yous. Hey, beat out my ass. Treat all my bras like trash.
Oh,
You
no.
get
You catch a blast if you move too fast. It's
No,
really,
Joe.
It's really bad.
Wow.
It's real bad.
Well, that makes it not
What
like
was the
Vinny.
weird single at the
And
very
it's also
very
done to Fab Five Freddy's Blondie crossover.
That sounds more like
Rapture.
it's supposed to be about Casino than about My Cousin Vinny.
It's not good. It's really
No.
bad.
Can I ask what was the deal with that weird country song over the credits that was like
That was
Travis
super
Tritt
weird.
singing
Singing
life
the
story?
entire story of the movie.
plot outline of the
God.
movie
They
I
as a
miss-
country song?
I miss
To bring that
soundtrack
back.
songs like that.
That was
They did it with
bizarre.
Wild Wild West. They did it with
Yep.
Men in
They
Black.
did.
Wild Wild West, yep.
I also just love those because it's just like, who is this for? Like, who are you making this music for?
It's for the person that went to the bathroom about 5 minutes in and then came back 40 minutes into the movie and was like, wait, what did I miss?
But then you gotta wait till the credits to figure it out.
I would have been there if they had done like Marisa Tomei's character with like a Little Kim breakdown in the middle.
Oh, there you
The
go. There
credit
you go.
song. But alas.
Well, so I want to talk a little bit about the Never Realized sequel. So they tried for years, and they actually had both Joe Pesci and Marisa Tomei all throughout the 90s. They were trying to get it off the ground, and the original story that they were going to go with was Joe Pesci has to try something in England.
Of course.
So he's got to learn a whole new legal
Oh,
system,
hilarious.
And the wig.
Oh,
which
and
is
Joe-
why it's funny
That's
that
Joe
you.
Pesci wearing the barrister's wig. That was
Yeah.
That would be
good.
great.
It would have been so good, but Marisa Tomei ended up backing out because she had other, it was just kind of getting mired in development hell, and then it never really went anywhere. And then years afterwards, it just kind of became a novel series. Like I think there's like 2
There were
novels.
three. I looked that up
Oh, there are
last
3?
night. There were 3 of them.
But I just like that idea of like, yeah, Joe Pesci, Marisa Tomei taking that New York act, but now going to London and just fucking that shit up. I think it would have been hilarious,
Yes.
especially around
Really funny.
the late 90s.
And you know they would have had a baby by then, so you would have had like toddler Vinny with them.
And you know Hugh Grant would have been in that shit.
Oh, of
Oh,
course he
God.
would have.
I could see that in Bill Nye.
Or
Oh,
in
man.
Home. Oh my God, so good. My question was
Emma Thompson is the judge.
Oh my
Emma
God.
Thompson is the judge.
my question was how come nobody pitched this as a TV series?
I was almost positive. that
I'm
he
ready to
had.
write on it.
Yeah, like who needs a podcast? Let's all get together and write a pilot.
Exactly.
Just
We're
write a
writing the
spec script.
first 13 episodes of My
I'm
Cousin
gonna
Vinny, the TV show.
It writes itself. I mean, who doesn't love a fish out of water story? They realize that rent's so expensive and that they can buy a whole house for what they pay in 1 month rent in Brooklyn. And
Oh man.
So he goes and he opens up shop in the South, and then it's just
Yeah.
episode after episode of Vinny fighting Southern trials.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And like
I love it.
he's like good friends with the judge. He's good friends with the prosecutor.
There
But then they
actually
keep butting heads in court.
there was a show like 2 years ago. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the exact same plot, except it was a young guy instead of Vinny. It didn't quite work, but if it had been Vinny,
Mhm.
it would have worked.
Was it supposed to be a younger guy? Because I have a feeling like it was supposed to be like the character was
was.
supposed to be younger.
Oh, so the original casting for this is the weird part. So when this was being developed at 20th Century Fox throughout the 80s and into the 90s, this was a Andrew Dice Clay vehicle.
Oh God.
Shut up.
Oh yeah. I mean, come on. When he steps out of the classic car
Yeah.
with the boots and the leather.
That would have been a totally different movie.
Oh,
You
yeah.
couldn't root for him. You can't
Right.
root for Andrew Dice Clay.
Uh,
I don't know. Andrew Dice Clay was so good in Pretty in Pink.
he's
For that
he's
2
pretty good.
minutes.
He was good in A Star Is Born too. You still don't root for him.
I think he would be a little bit more difficult to be the hero. And honestly, Adventures of Ford Fairlane was the first one. I personally love that movie, but I get why it's like, it's super problematic.
So was he.
Yeah, and the lackluster performance of that, 20th Century Fox renegotiated and tried
Oh,
to.
wow.
So they removed him from that role. They started looking for another lead. They also reneged on. They were going to release his concert film the following year because Ford Fairlane came out in '90, and his concert film was supposed to come out in like the year after that. But then they pulled the plug on it. So then they started looking around for again. And then the first choice by screenwriter, producer Dale Larner was Robert De Niro.
No surprise.
And the studio heads balked because they said, and this is his interview, he's basically paraphrasing, he's like, well, they told me De Niro isn't funny and his films don't make any money, which in hindsight is hilarious. Because all of his movies that have made like box office mega hauls are comedies.
Yeah, analyze this and Meet the Fockers. Yeah.
But you will never, ever look at Robert De Niro as an underdog. Ever.
Yeah.
And he is an underdog.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. That's not true. Like Raging Bull, he's always, in
a comedy. He is
in a comedy, yeah.
Funny because he is intimidating.
Yeah, it's true. He's very intimidating.
He's always the intimidating one.
Yeah, but he was written to be imposing, and that's like the whole thing. So other possibilities for the Vinny role, they started going between like Danny DeVito, John Lovitz, Jim Belushi.
John Lovitz.
Yeah.
That would have been Jewish Vinny.
Yeah. That would have been pretty funny though.
They finally settled this. Also, Marisa Tomei, not their first pick. They were very, very nervous about it because she had not had a lot of credits before this. Her first film was Flamingo Kid, which was only a couple years before this.
Different world as the only white girl.
Yeah, but like film.
Dare you?
It's really hard to imagine anybody else but Marisa Tomei as Mona Lisa Vito, but. The other possibilities, they were looking at Lorraine Bracco, which I could see, but she turned it down. And Debbie Mazar.
Oh my God.
Debbie Mazar would have been.
She would have
been pretty good. She would have been really good.
I mean,
Debbie Mazar is Mona Lisa Vito.
Yeah, but that's why she would have killed it.
Yeah.
Her.
Also, Judge Holler was at one point in time considered by Christopher Lloyd, which could have been interesting.
Different but fun.
Oh, you want to talk about real different? Stan Rothenstein, the best friend character. Will Smith was in the callbacks.
Oh, whoa.
Which would have added a whole new dynamic.
Wow. That would have been.
We would have had a lot more to talk about if that had happened.
We would have 100% had a lot more to
Although,
talk about.
really the only time they kind of address his Jewishness is when they mispronounce his name.
Rothenstein.
Yeah. Right.
And even then, it's not really a thing.
No, you kind of have to at least be tangentially aware of like
Southern history and anti-Semitism. Yeah. I mean, actually, there was an interview with the producer screenwriter, and he was talking about that, and he was like, he was actually all for it. He's like, yeah, I just think they were envisioning a very different film than what we were putting together. Because that
a lot more serious if it were.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Like this, like if Will Smith is being like charged with accessory to murder, it makes a lot more sense.
Well, and I think that would have been the problem, is that these guys are not going to be convicted of murder if you put Will Smith in the part.
Yeah,
it's a little dicey as to what's going to happen.
Yeah,
right. The other thing I kind of wanted to bring up with this is that cinematographer Pete Deming, there's a lot of like crazy motion in this movie for a fairly boilerplate courtroom procedural. You notice like those crane shots when they're coming in for reveals, or the big push-ins when they're doing like reaction shots. Pete Deming got his start with Sam Raimi. He did Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2 the same year he did Robert Townsend's Hollywood Shuffle. That was like his first two films out of the gate. He's worked with David Lynch on Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive. One of my personal faves, he did Drop Dead Fred with Phoebe Cates and Rick Mayall. And he's worked with like the Hughes brothers, Wes Craven, Jay Roach, John M. Chu, and also discussing abuser and sexual assaulter David O. Russell, who's got a new film out.
Does he?
Fuck him.
Yeah, he's a gross man. But yeah, it's weird to watch it and just see like these big sweeping motions, because I was like, what is going on here? Because otherwise, it's like pretty quiet film. Like it's a lot of just back and forth talking, which you could probably just do in basic coverage. But they
hotel rooms, like a lot of the action happens in hotel rooms with like Joe Pesci and Marisa Tomei.
Every single hotel room that he goes into is hilarious,
so
though.
funny.
Unfortunately, those hotels were real, but only I think one of them is still open.
They're all Winchester hotels.
Yeah, they're very much like Winchester Supernatural hotels.
Yeah.
Also tune in Walker, Texas Ranger. Jared Padalecki.
We love you, but not as much as Vincent Ackles.
Yeah.
You know, my friend actually went to high school with Jared Padalecki.
All right, this has nothing to do with
this has nothing to do with
I
it.
know, but you guys brought it up.
I know.
You brought it up.
I don't even know who Jordan Padalecki is.
Jared.
Dana.
He's the guy from
Jordan
Girls.
First of all, Jordan Padalecki. I can't even with
Jordan
you.
Catalano. Jordan
That's
Catalano.
Padalecki.
Okay, you
From
need to go
Supernatural.
and you need to watch all 15 seasons of Supernatural immediately, or we
Oh,
can't.
I
really
see.
do.
Oh, I see. I see. It's a supernatural show, right? Yeah,
Correct.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I will just say this: 15 years.
It's a long time to watch a show.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
I did it. I
completely off
stayed in the
track.
long haul.
No.
He's got like a 6 head.
Who?
This
Jared
is what-
Padalecki?
Jordan Padalecki.
Jared.
Jared.
Padalecki.
Jared
Padalecki.
Padalecki.
Well, at
Jensen
least
Ackles is much prettier.
Jensen
Yeah, I would say
Ackles is
Jensen
prettier.
Ackles
Jensen Ackles
is-
is very pretty.
yeah, we all agree that.
Oh, and Misha Collins, also very pretty as a side note.
Okay, no, we're not
No
doing
more
this.
Supernatural.
Supernatural is a whole nother podcast.
There's no one here who could even do that podcast with me. This can't be bonus feature. It'll just
No.
be
Sorry.
It's just gonna be you and me
I could do
bitching
10
about
of the
it.
15 seasons. I just can't do the last
I
5.
Well, honestly, I would
I
only
can't
do, like,
talk
the
to an
first 5.
amateur who's only watched 10 of the 15 seasons. What do you think I am?
Yep, that's the one thing that people used to describe me in relation to TV. Amateur.
You're not committed enough.
You're not committed enough.
One of the other things I did want to mention about the film, like I said, shot in Georgia. Like the little pieces of it are so well put together, and I think again this comes into like the whole explanation about the grits and the mud and
Oh my God, grits, guys!
Yeah.
This is where I first learned about grits.
Yeah, same.
Really?
Yep,
Totally
me too.
did not know what grits are before this movie.
Yep.
Wow.
And this movie did not make me want to eat grits.
Oh no, it made me want to try
Eating
them.
grits made me not want to eat grits.
It made me want to try them.
Grits are delightful with lots
I
of
love
butter.
Lots of
Shrimp
butter.
and
I
grits.
will never ever be okay with the consistency of grits.
I love.
It's gonna be one of my favorite.
cheesy grits. So good.
I don't understand why you don't just eat potatoes.
Because they're not
Because
potatoes.
it's corn,
So
man.
pretty. It's like I understand it's grits, but
But
they're
I do
pretty.
not
You
understand
eat
why.
polenta?
Why
I don't think they made it correctly then when
why
we had them.
Vinny and a proud Italian American cannot recognize fucking polenta.
Yeah, I think that would have been a moment where he tastes it and then goes, "Oh," and then just like
Yeah,
has that click
polenta.
moment. Because when you describe grits, yeah, it sounds weird.
Yes.
But when you break it down, it's like, oh yeah, it's the same crap that like everybody else is eating.
Sure.
There is a weird thing. So the prison sequences, they shot in a real prison. There are a lot of sequences where they're outside in the yard. Those are real prisoners, and they shot with real prison guards.
Why? Are you serious?
I
Yeah.
want to know how much those prisoners got paid.
I was about to say, I hope they got paid for their time.
I'm not certain about that.
Exploitive.
Probably not.
didn't.
Probably not.
I don't know the story behind that, but that is the shooting from what I can see, and it's been cited a couple times that they were just like, "Hey, want to be in a movie?
Yeah.
Not like you're going anywhere."
I
Um,
did like the prison uniforms.
Do they get?
Oh,
do
those
they get
pinstripe
SAG?
things?
Yeah,
Are they,
weren't
SAG
even
eligible
pinstripe.
once
It
they
was
get?
like a bowling shirt.
They're not
Yeah.
gonna get anything. The prison system is completely ridiculous.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, that's true. But like, I mean, SAG is also completely ridiculous.
Yeah, that is also true.
Well, I did want to mention speaking of SAG and unions. So the casting director for this is David Rubin. David Rubin, who is now, I believe, he's still the president of the Academy of Motion Picture Sciences, and he was one of the more vocal people to get casting directors into the union, and that only happened in 2005.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's been trying to bring a lot of that stuff out in the front because it's always kind of like a behind the scenes, back of house kind of thing. He wants to bring more forefront. This guy has done so much stuff. So he was under the tutelage of one of like the original like old school casting directors from back in the day, Lynn Stallmeister. I think that's how you say his name. He got his first start as a casting assistant for doing Ragtime back in the day.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, and if you listen to like some of the stuff that he has gone through, like okay, like yeah, you get The Big Easy, Dragnet, Spaceballs, Less Than Zero, The In Crowd, Scrooged, The War of the Roses, Cadillac Man, Days of Thunder, Delirious, The Addams Family, Fried Green Tomatoes. Like he has so like a great eye for this stuff, and it goes on and on. He's still working today. Like this is all stuff from the 80s and 90s, and I think the last stuff he's been doing a lot of TV. He actually has 2 Emmys, I believe.
Wow.
Last film he did was King of Staten Island, and he did Big Little
King of Staten
Lies for
Island.
TV. So it's
so well
interesting.
cast. So
yeah,
well
because
done.
this film is like so perfect, like pitch perfect on everybody's role, including Fred Gwynn, who they basically picked out because he was in Cotton Club a couple years before this, and it's good that he got this role because I think it's probably just as memorable him in this role as Herman Munster at this point.
Yeah, totally.
So it was a really good legacy for such a great character actor.
Especially considering he could not shake Herman Munster for the entirety of his career.
A long time.
But I know, I feel bad now about calling him Judge Munster. But
the police chief, the sheriff character, was also he really threw over the Southern stereotype of railroading justice. When he was proved wrong, he was happy to be proved wrong. He was happy to be actually put on the right path there.
I think that's part of what makes this movie special, though, is that you can watch this from any part of the country and be okay with it. Like Southern portrayals are good. The portrayals of the people in New York are accurate. It's like there's nobody watching this movie and going, "Oh, that's just really insulting. I don't care about that." Everybody can watch this movie.
I think this movie doesn't have a villain, which is also kind of refreshing. Like everybody is.
You never meet the guy who actually killed
the guy in the mint green Pontiac is the problem.
Yeah,
and everybody's just trying to do their best in the best way they know how. The witnesses all thought they were helping. They didn't realize that they were giving. They were being bad witnesses. Yeah. The prosecutor really just wanted to
win the case.
To win the case because he thought they were guilty, and the sheriff wanted to put these people away because they thought it were everybody was just trying to do
and he smartly realizes that as soon as he has no case, he drops it.
Yeah.
That's what a prosecution should do. It's like, oh, that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah, there's not the ego that
there's
might come in other.
There's definitely ego there, but
there's definitely ego. Yeah,
but
there's not the win at all cost ego.
Yeah, he's not evil. He's definitely competitive. And he wants to, and that's part of the issue that I always have with the legal community is a lot of times that competitive ego takes over what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really smart way where he tries everything he did. He even pulled in some federal special witness just to go, aha, I gotcha. He's not a bad guy.
No, and the judge, he doesn't give Joe Pesci a hard time because he hates Joe Pesci. He loves the law. He loves the courtroom. He loves the order that he demands and he's established. And he wants that respect and love.
And he's proud of it. He's proud of the system that they have,
And here's the other great part. That for once, it's not the woman behind the scenes that makes the difference, although she does make the difference behind the scenes because she gets that facts for him. She's on the stand, the one who gets to be the expert.
Dana, I totally agree. That was like the defining moment for me when they pull her up. She saves the case.
She saves the case.
She 100% saves the case to the point where that highfalutin FBI, tire analyst has to relook at the evidence that he already spent so much time looking at and realize that they actually cannot be the people who did this crime because their car would not have created these tracks.
But then it also lets her be the hero.
No one's intimidated by her being a woman. They all admit they're wrong when they're wrong.
And Dana, you're right. He lets her be the hero. He stands back. Joe Pesci doesn't make the case himself.
Right.
He lets her. He lets her say. And he also throws himself, he throws his ego away. He's like, do you think my argument holds water? And she says, no, you're wrong.
And this is also
why you're wrong, This is
also part of the reason why I'm confident. The reason why people voted for this is because it feels so good. And it is a very empowering moment.
Totally.
In that time frame. Yeah. In 1992, that's a big thing to be like, you know what? She knew her shit and she proved all these guys wrong. And it was great. Compared to Husbands and Wives, where they all go back to their cheating philanthropist fucking husband garbage, where why all these other films that were nominated were very, very well crafted performances, very well crafted characters, but you don't feel good about it.
Nope.
And here's somebody who was like, no, I'm gonna do the same thing, but it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, it's one of those performances where it's mesmerizing. I again, I said this before, but I cannot imagine anybody else really doing that.
She's
And
so
she's talking about fucking like cars.
And how adorable she is when she does it.
Watch this.
Because Chevy didn't make a 327 in 55. The 327 didn't come out till 62. And it wasn't offered in the Bel Air with a 4-barrel carb till 64. However, in 1964, the correct ignition timing would be 4 degrees before top dead center.
Well, she's acceptable, Your Honor.
Yeah,
so
she's
good.
really
I just
excited
love how she
to
completely
announce
wins
that.
over the judge too. He's like,
Yeah,
he's
Fred
like,
went smitten with her.
he's like, do you want to go take your seat?
He gets a little bit of that smile he always does so well, where he's like a little bit ear to ear. He's like, just that little head thing. It's great. Oh my god, I
You
love
kind
it.
of hear the birds kind of chirping in the background.
Yeah. All right, so I think we should get into, can you remake this?
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
You can remake it.
Like I said, I would love to watch a TV show. Of
I would
this.
100%
Absolutely.
watch a TV show of
I
this.
still kind of think that you should have Joe Pesci and Marisa Tomei, though.
Yeah, 100%. I would watch this movie with Marisa Tomei, especially.
Oh yeah.
Now
I know
somebody
maybe
has-
their son is actually going to law school or
Oh, what
something.
if he's a judge? He's now
Oh yeah,
a New
Judge
York-
Vinny.
Yeah, Judge.
Vinny.
Yeah, I
Judge
don't.
Vinny.
My Justice Vinny.
My Justice Vinny.
I love Vinny as the Vincent Gambini Supreme Court Justice.
Oh, I'm just like, what if it's his confirmation hearing for Supreme Court Justice?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't think a direct remake, but something about further adventures, or I
Like the soft reboot they did for Vacation.
there's like more, but there's more of this to explore. And like, ooh, sorry, Mike, I just hit this mic. There's more here to explore in interesting ways, especially with police and the way law has.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much to explore here.
Yeah, and especially like how things have fundamentally changed in the way that like we view. I mean, like procedurals were very different in the 90s as they were now. Like, you know, Law and Order was still around, but it wasn't as ubiquitous as it is now. And we definitely didn't have like CSIs and all the super flashy, weird sci-fi techno thriller kind of stuff that's added into it. So yeah, I think a lot of that would end up change, because now I'm imagining like a crossover where like Vincent LaGuardia Gambini's got to go into like a Bones kind of setting where it's like he's got to deal with evidence and she's all hardcore into the data and he's just like, no, I got to argue in front of the court.
Yeah, I'm sure Marisa Tomei has completely embraced like technology, and Vinny is not.
And Vinny argues with like Benson and Statler. From love it. Would be there for
My Cousin Vinny, SVU.
Well, I mean, what are our final thoughts on this? I think it still holds up. I think it's great.
Oh no, it 100%.
Other than, you know, questionable,
Loved it.
the thing that did throw me off, there were two things right in the very opening credits. There's a Confederate flag, and they crossed over a "Don't Cross" sign when they were passing that logging truck, and I was like, "Is this how you die?" Like, have you not watched? Oh, right, because the Final Destination movies weren't out yet. But,
right.
You know.
Yeah, both of those things still seem pretty timeless to me, frankly.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I loved the
that
whole
was
movie.
the only instance I noted that you saw the Stars and Bars.
Well, considering what was it, Atlanta? Just
It's shot in Georgia, but it's supposed to be Alabama.
but the last state to have their state flag with Confederate flag on it.
Oh,
Was that just last year?
Yeah, I think that was just last year.
I would watch this again and again and again.
Totally.
It just makes me so happy. I freaking love the whole like my clock is ticking.
I thought,
I'm
how
pretty
did we
sure
get-
I have.
How
like,
did we get an hour and a half into this and not say my biological clock is ticking like this, and if the ring was going, I ain't never getting married.
It's also still like incredibly memeable. Like our
Yep.
text
Oh,
chain
God,
had
yeah.
how many My Cousin Vinny gifts on it, you know?
And
She's
it's
just
like
so good.
I think it's like it's almost like nanny level where it's
Yeah.
timeless because it is so over the top. You know,
Yep.
hair is
Nanny
big.
level. I
love
love that
it.
comparison.
It is just like it will never
I will
go
still
out of
watch the
style.
nanny.
Yeah. Because of that. Oh God, did you see like Fran Drescher just like literally for the anniversary thing, she just had this whole get up that she wore like 30 fucking years ago, and she still looks amazing.
Of course she does. It's Fran Drescher.
And it's the same with Marisa Tomei. She still looks awesome. Every time I see her as Aunt May, I'm like, oh my God.
They
how
both
do you-
Spider-Man. She's the hottest Aunt May ever.
Yeah.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr. was like, hey.
Get it.
Yeah,
Aunt
if he
May.
wasn't dead.
Wow, spoiler, Randall.
Right?
Well, now we have to end with the sad, horrible Vincent Gambini rap, because that's gonna happen.
You could go out on the
do one of the
Travis
other
Tritt
songs.
country song. Do
Or the Travis Tritt country song.
Do Hey Vinny.
Hey Vinny? Yeah.
Or
No,
him
nobody-
singing Volare, because I haven't even seen the CD, but I'm positive he sings Volare on it.
There's a
there's
track
gotta
called
be
Take Your
Volare.
Love and Shove It.
In any case, that's the end of the podcast, folks.
Yay!
Hey, hi.
Yay.
We could dark horse it and we could just play It's Been a While.
It's been a while.
It's been a while since I could hold my head